It's run by a who?
And
It's run by a what? Wait, explain this.
It's run by a creepy criminal, but let's not get into it too far because we need to sell cons to artists.
No, I want to know. You can't.
I will discuss it. I will discuss it with you later. But yeah, I mean the Cliff's Notes version of it is that the guy who organizes it is known for a lot of shady business practices and also creeping on underage kids.
A big thing that creators don't notice is that there's more than one convention, and it's not their fault. It's like the popular culture. Like, you know how we just talked about LFCC? It took me like I didn't know about LFCC, and apparently it's been running for years. I only knew about MCM, which was a big anime con, and it was the only one I knew until someone told me no, they weren't even the biggest kid on the block. I went to LFCC like a handful of times, and it wasn't on purpose. I went to LFCC for the films, not for the con bit. You know, so like learn about your small cons. That's where you're gonna find the best people to hang out with, and also the best people in general are just that, because the big cons are full of Ruby fans. Don't do that to yourself. Go to the small cons.
Want to go to a convention and start tabling for your comic? Don't do it unless you know you have a substantial fan base and you have been doing it for like doing the comic for some time. Just give them time to like actually be, to have that relationship between your viewers and that comic built up to be strong enough. Treat the con as like a way to meet the fans in person, not necessarily to get new readers, but yes, that can, and if you can make it happen, should happen. What is going on? So if people come over there and then if you're able to know your comic, like how to explain it really like quickly in like a catchy way, then if they ask more questions, you can keep getting into like the nuts and bolts of your story.
Also show the parts of your comic that you think people will be more interested in, not because of its story quality, but just because when you look at it you go, wow. If you think you're ready to table but you don't think you got the fan base to table per se, and I say fan base, I mean like maybe you're not all the way, you're not like you're not guaranteeing yourself like 40 or 50 people coming out, but you're guaranteeing yourself maybe like 10 or 20 or 30. Table with someone else. Like, it's completely normal. Just get a friend, get a friend who also draws, make a friend first, then force them to come with you to a con and table and print their own stuff too, and just be there.
Yeah. Preferably someone who is more experienced and in the con circuit and also has a history of like pulling in other people.
That's true.
It's even better if they're also a comic creator and themselves, and then they're like, hey, I'm like looking after this person. They're like the next big thing to watch. Please remember that printing is not the same as for the web, and if you have been drawing slightly small resolution at all this while, and you formatting is going to be one of your biggest bugbears when you start formatting your comic prints.
Yeah.
I would say that if you're trying to like do this while you're also like doing your regular episodes and the like, rope someone in to help you. No matter how like much you're good at doing on your like rope someone in who is experienced with like printing like printing restrictions like in like you must have a multiple of 4 pages because that's how paper and printing works by the way in books.
Yeah.
If you multiple 4 pages, maybe not including the cover. That might be different depending on the choice of cover, by the way.
Yeah.
And it's I mean, I've seen so many people like they're doing well in the webtoon like layout and stuff. I mean, you translating it over to print, you might not necessarily have the right experience for it. Like, I mean, you could do, but then even if you do, like, you might also find that you have to do some touch-ups or redraws or panels. And this is the reason why Exco Volume 1 is taking so long.
I've been waiting for this whole time.
No, I do understand. But there's one warning I have to give you there, because printing formats like for print comics, like usually kind of go, the different like size conventions for whether you're in America, because America uses all sorts of weird imperial.
Everything is different in America.
and then you have your usual A or B sizing in like outside of America.
Yeah,
so
the real world.
Manga tankobon are usually your typical book manga book like from Japan is usually about a B6. A B5 if it's bigger, like almost graphic novel like size.
Yeah.
You can do A4, A5 if you're if you're really lazy to like do outside standard. Printing companies may like give you custom sizes, but that may actually cost you more, and because cutting the extra means paper wastage. So try to like stick to the usual like comic sizes. Then set up your document, go to town on like the layout work, and get people to look over it every now and again, because
definitely. That's like the biggest problem of printing, isn't it? It's just like, you start the setup, you lay it out, you think everything's going perfectly fine, and then all of a sudden you realize that it's all been a lie.
Yeah, especially if you Webtoon. There's some things that on Webtoon that will not translate over to print, but there's some things you can do in print to compensate for it. So, also make use of that.
I gotta ask, but this is like a question I wanted to know. If you've been drawing in too low a resolution, wouldn't that essentially mean that wouldn't that mean that when you print, needs to have a higher, you basically have to redraw everything?
You pretty much do, yes. I mean, it depends how many pixels wide your thing is, and for best print quality, we do for like comics about 300 pixels per inch in printing. I know printers work in dots per inch, but if you because you count like images for digital in pixels, if you like roughly like translate it to like whatever size, inch size your page is gonna be, and you have like at least 300 pixels for each inch of that page size, and then you should be fine. Just there should be like ways if you're using Clip Studio Paint, put in your paper size, and it gives you like how many pixels you should have your image at anyway, which is really convenient.
It is very convenient.
Actually, if you're not a comic artist, quote unquote, yet, but you want to get into it, but you want to like dip your toes in by inking for people, coloring for people, penciling for people, comic cons are actually a better way to get some of those traditional, quote unquote, comic jobs.
It's also a really good way
preferably.
It's also a really good way to put place to sell yourself to people who are looking for those.
Caveat is have examples of your work like easily available. You don't have to tote around this huge ass portfolio. Just a place that people can your name cards, and like a place where people can easily open up take up the cell phones or whatever and look at what you've done, or like if you have a small like binder with your stuff in it, even better.
You have the money for a website, or you don't want to carry around a binder. Genuinely put all your work and take pictures of all your work, or scan it, put it all in the Google Drive, and just keep the Google Drive link on your phone, and then just send it to people. Make sure it's open and available to everyone. Send it to people to have access to it. That will help you out so much.
A shortened link for the Google Drive, because no one remembers all like the string of characters. So if you have a bit.ly or something like that, some of the bigger cons, Webtoon actually makes an appearance at. This is exclusive to North America only at the moment, I'm afraid. But if you can get yourself there and talk to these people, yes, do it.
Do it,
like
hella.
Do it. Like make the most of it, especially if you're paying money to like travel to the con and stuff.
Also, if you just find actually this is one that I got as an experience from a con. It's when you meet a lot of these people, like sounds really bad to say, be memorable.
Not in the bad way.
This is not in the bad way. Don't do anything stupid, but like be interesting as an individual, in that when you know what you make and you own what you make. And I understand how hard it is to talk about what you make. Hell, I find it really hard to talk about this podcast to people, because it's just like you're making something, you're kind of embarrassed when you want to talk about it, because it's like, I make it and I don't want my friends to see it or whatever. Get over that. When you meet people, you need to walk into their face and be like, yo, I like what you're doing. I'm making these things. I really like how you're working on this. Be expressive about what you want to talk to them about. Be memorable, be remembered, be interesting. Don't go in there and think they're just going to like you. Don't expect them, but they're not going to hate you. They're willing to know about your stuff, but don't be in their face about it.
It is always going to be a gamble, even if you're a featured creator, as to whether you will sell enough, let alone sell out whatever you want to bring.
Yeah, merchandise doesn't sell too well.
Sorry?
Merchandise doesn't sell too well. If you're making t-shirts, actually this is a point. If you're making t-shirts for your merch, and the designs are cool in spite of what they are, which is something you should try to aim for, people will buy them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's, I mean, so you can still get a crowd that, doesn't read your comic but as much, but they'll still buy like your stuff
T-shirt.
because it looks cool.
Yeah, like so if you've got
That's
that, do that. If you know you can print T-shirts that look cool and they're just like, yeah, I would wear that going outside. Do it because people are people, man. They'll take
Prints may be slightly cheap to produce, but you gotta. I mean, people are gonna like, why would I want to like have a pinup of like someone unknown when I can have like a pinup of my waifu? Same thing for a T-shirt, to be honest. But then again, but you can sort of slightly offset that a little bit.
Yeah.
Keychains, they take a while to come in. A lot of people order them in from China, and you have to have a minimum order quantity, and it can be a little bit demotivating if you don't sell enough of them at the convention. But at least you can sell the rest of them online if you need to, and the packaging for them is not going to be as complicated as prints will be.
That is true.
Unless your print is like postcard size.
This is the part I've been waiting for this entire time. So let's say all this stuff is happening. You've gone, I have a comic presence. Like I have a presence, but I don't really have time to go to a con. Or all my fans live in America or Canada, and you don't
I don't
really
have the money to like pay for merch beforehand.
Exactly. And I need a lot of help. You know who you go to? Mosobox. And this isn't even the ad. This is actually part of the episode. You see what I did? I tied it in. What the fuck? Anyway, just ask him to help you. He does conventions in America and Canada, and you can actually get your stuff moved around. Going to people like Moso is a very good way of getting your merchandise
started.
Your merchandise started, because he's already experienced in the field. You don't have to worry about figuring out prints and things like that. It's a very valuable way to start being a convention, start having a presence in convention without having to spend the traveling money yourself. And this isn't a plug. This is actually like useful information. Do it. It works.
I'm actually available for advice on like what to bring to a con, and even though it is quite an inexact science, it's not really even a science per se, but
It's not a science.
I'm actually available for advice on that. I mean, for slight portfolio reviews and whether maybe you should be selling maybe ideas of what you can bring.
We should just start selling portfolio reviews, because we both do it. This past week I've gotten 4.
You've gotten 4? Why didn't you pass them to?
Well, no, not from them. Not from them. I mean, for people who asked me, particularly came to me. I was like, "Hey, so I'm thinking of making a comment." I'm like, "I don't know why you're asking me. I'm terrible at this."
Yeah, maybe that can be a Patreon. That can be a Patreon reward.
We should make that a Patreon reward.